Inside every consumer-grade riding mower sold at a box store in the last 15 years, there is a transmission the manufacturer made as difficult as possible to open, service, or rebuild. It is sealed at the factory. The housing is aluminum. The internal components are not built to commercial tolerances. The hydraulic fluid inside it can technically be changed. Tough Torque documents a drain-by-inversion procedure on their website. But that procedure is not in your owner's manual, your dealer will not mention it, and most homeowners will never know it exists. That transmission cost the manufacturer $80 to $150 less than the unit it replaced. The unit it replaced lasted 20 years. This one will last 4. And when it dies, the replacement costs $800 to $1,800, often 60 to 80% of what you paid for the whole mower. That is not a design flaw. That is a business model. Today we are pulling apart exactly how it works, what is inside that transmission, how to tell if yours is already dying, and what to buy instead, so you never land in this trap again. The transmission in question is not some obscure part. You have almost certainly bought it without knowing it. The Tough Torque K46 and K57 series. The Hydrogear EZ-T series. These are the consumer-grade hydrostatic units installed in many of the most common residential riding mowers and zero-turns sold at big box stores, Craftsman, Troy-Bilt, Cub Cadet, and some residential John Deere lines. Different badges, same box, same supplier, same failure. The Tough Torque K46 in particular shows up in more failed machines than almost any other single component in small equipment history. These are not rare edge cases. Walk through any rural property or scroll through any equipment forum and the same unit, the same mileage, the same failure keeps appearing 3 to 5 years, 150 to 400 hours of seasonal residential use. Then it is done. Here is what actually kills it. Pull the mower out of your garage right now. Take it to a flat piece of pavement. Make sure the bypass valve or roll release lever is fully engaged. Then push it by hand. If it rolls freely and evenly, you have time. If it still drags or catches with the bypass fully open, you are already in the failure window. Now, take it to a slope, even a gentle one, 5 to 10 degrees. Drive it uphill at half throttle. If it hesitates, whines, or loses drive before reaching the top, your transmission is overheating under load. That is the first warning. Write down how many hours are on your machine. If you do not have an hour meter, a typical homeowner puts 40 to 60 hours per season on a residential mower. Do the math on your years of ownership. The failure mechanism is straightforward. The hydraulic fluid inside a sealed consumer-grade hydrostatic unit is rated to operate below a threshold temperature that varies by unit. On flat ground, light load, moderate temperature, it stays there. The moment you add a slope, thick grass, wet conditions, or sustained mowing in summer heat, that fluid climbs past its threshold. It begins to break down. It forms sludge and varnish on the internal surfaces. The internal hydraulic components, including the cylinder blocks and center case, wear under heat and contaminated fluid. Drive pressure drops. The mower loses power on hills first. Then it loses power everywhere. Then it stops moving entirely. The whole sequence from first symptom to complete failure can happen in a single season under heavy use. What the manufacturer does not make easy is the entire point. The fluid can be changed, but there is no traditional drain plug on most variants. You have to remove the transaxle and invert it through the fill port to drain it. Tough Torque documents this on their website in their tech tips section. Your owner's manual does not mention it. Your dealer will not bring it up. Repair kits do exist for some K46 and K57 models. Tough Torque publishes guidance for opening the case and replacing cylinder blocks, seals, and filters. But the kits require specialized tools, careful disassembly of a precision hydraulic unit, and the labor cost at shop rates frequently exceeds the cost of a replacement unit. The practical reality for most homeowners is that when this transmission fails, rebuilding it is technically possible, but economically irrational. And that is the design. A transmission that is technically serviceable but practically disposable is one that gets replaced. And when the replacement costs $800 to $1,800 installed, and a new mower costs $1,800 to $3,500, the math almost always points toward buying new. That is the loop. You are meant to stay inside it. Before 2005, this loop did not exist for most homeowners. The riding mowers of the 80s and 90s used cast iron gear transmissions. They were heavy, simple, and rebuildable. A typical 5-speed gear drive from that era would run 15 to 25 years with nothing more than occasional fluid changes and a new belt. The early hydrostatic units, the heavier commercial grade ones, used cast iron housings, metal gears, and serviceable designs rated for over 1,000 hours. Those are still running in shops and on farms right now. The shift toward the sealed consumer unit happened between roughly 2000 and 2008 as manufacturers competed aggressively on retail price. The sealed hydrostatic transmission was lighter, cheaper to produce, and required less assembly time. The manufacturer saves $80 to $150 per unit. The consumer loses 10 to 15 years of service life. That trade was made without most buyers understanding it was being made at all. Here's where the corporate structure matters.
You're probably looking at your own mower wondering if it'll last that long too. Here's the thing. You don't need a 1985 machine to get 1985 longevity. You just need to know what they know. So before you waste thousands on repairs and replacements, check out the new maintenance protocol that keeps machines running for decades. Best part is it's not just a list of maintenance tips. It actually shows you what kills these mowers, how to spot trouble in your own engine before it dies, and which parts to buy without getting jerked around at the dealer. And it doesn't matter if you've got a walk behind or a riding mower, there's one for both. Plus, every book comes with a printable maintenance calendar and more. Scan the QR code or tap the link up top. Use code MarkTalksQuality for 15% off. Make it last.
Craftsman, Troy-Bilt, and Cub Cadet are all brands that now fall under Stanley Black & Decker, which acquired the Craftsman brand in 2017 and completed the full acquisition of MTD products, including Cub Cadet and Troy-Bilt, in December of 2021. These are different badges on the same supply chain. The same Tough Torque or Hydro Gear consumer unit goes into a $600 Craftsman and a $2,200 Cub Cadet. Paying more within the consumer-grade box store ecosystem does not necessarily get you a better transmission. It often gets you a larger deck, a more comfortable seat, or a more powerful engine bolted to the same sealed hydrostatic unit. Check the exact transaxle model in the specifications before you buy. The engine warranty is typically 3 years. The transmission coverage varies by brand and model. On some consumer machines, it is shorter or more restrictive than the engine coverage. Read the actual warranty language before you sign. Know what is covered and what is not. Now let us talk about what the warning signs look like in sequence, because catching this early is the difference between a $50 intervention and an $1,800 replacement. The first sign is power loss on slopes. The mower that used to climb your yard without hesitation now slows noticeably on any grade. This is the fluid beginning to break down under sustained heat. The second sign is whining. A healthy hydrostatic unit is quiet under load. A high-pitched whine that increases with throttle or load means the internal pump is working against scored or degraded surfaces. The third sign is jerky engagement. When you push the drive lever forward, the mower lurches rather than smoothly accelerating. This is the internal hydraulic components losing consistent pressure control. The fourth sign is creep in neutral. The mower moves slowly forward or backward when the drive lever is in the center position. This can indicate internal seal wear, but it can also be a return to neutral linkage adjustment issue. Have it diagnosed before assuming the worst. The linkage adjustment is a 15-minute fix, while internal seal wear is a replacement decision. The fifth sign is visible fluid at the axle seals. Get under the rear of the mower. Look at the point where the axle exits the transmission housing. Any brown or reddish fluid staining the housing surface means the seals are gone. At that point, you are 1 or 2 mowing sessions from complete failure. If you are past sign 3, the sealed unit cannot be meaningfully saved with what is available at the consumer level. There are transmission cooling fan kits and external fluid coolers sold for the K46 specifically, and for a machine that has not yet shown symptoms, adding an external cooler is a legitimate life extension measure. It costs $60 to $120 and mounts to the rear of the transmission housing. You run a small hydraulic line to a finned cooler that reduces operating temperature under sustained load. That temperature reduction directly extends seal and internal component life. But this is a prevention tool, not a repair. If your machine is already whining or losing drive on hills, the internal surfaces are already worn. Cooling the fluid will slow further degradation. It will not restore lost pressure. For the machines that are already at sign 4 or 5, here is the real-world decision. A replacement K46 or K57 unit runs $350 to $600 for the part alone from many suppliers, though pricing varies widely by source and variant. Installation requires removing the rear axle, disconnecting the drive shaft or belt drive system, and reinstalling and aligning the new unit. At shop labor rates of $80 to $120 per hour, you are looking at 2 to 4 hours of labor on top of the part. That brings the total to $800 to $1,800 on a machine that cost you $2,200, and the replacement unit is the same sealed design. You will be back in this position in another 3 to 5 years. This is why the decision to replace versus upgrade has to happen at this point, not after you have already spent the money. Here is what to do if you are keeping the machine you have, and it is still in the first 2 warning stages. First, you add the external cooler. Dierl and Hayden both make small hydraulic coolers that can be adapted to the K46 and K57, $60 to $120 at most equipment suppliers or online. These are not always purpose-built plug-and-play kits for the mower specifically, so confirm fitment for your unit before ordering. Mount it per the kit instructions, which takes about 2 hours with basic hand tools. Second, check your manufacturer's slope rating and do not exceed it. Sustained hill mowing in any direction is the highest heat load your transmission will see. The more time the unit spends under maximum load on a grade, the faster the fluid degrades. Third, you reduce your cutting height in heavy or wet conditions. The taller and wetter the grass, the harder the transmission works. Fourth, you check for any drain and refill option on your specific unit. Some K57 versions and certain other units have a drain plug that is not mentioned in the owner's manual, but is present on the casting. Get under the unit with a flashlight. Look for a 12mm bolt on the bottom of the housing. If it is there, drain it. On units without a drain plug, the fluid can still be changed by removing the fill cap and carefully inverting the transaxle to drain through the fill port. Tough Torque documents this procedure in their official tech tips. Refill with the correct fluid listed in the Tough Torque service documentation for your specific unit model number. Do not guess the fluid spec. Do not use automatic transmission fluid. Tough Torque explicitly says not to use ATF in these units. Check your exact transaxle model number against their published fluid list before you pour anything in. The fluid that comes out will be black and metallic. The fluid going back in should be amber. That is the condition the manufacturer sent it out in. You can get it back there if the internal parts have not yet scored. Now, let us talk about what to buy instead, because if you are in the market for a replacement or a first machine and you want to avoid this entirely, the answer is not complicated. It is just not what the box stores are selling. The Hydrogear ZT3400 and ZT4400 are commercial grade hydrostatic units that use metal internal components, heavier castings, and are built to 1,000 or more hours of service life. They are serviceable. Rebuild kits are available. They are installed in Skag, Ferris, and Exmark commercial zero-turn machines. Those machines start at roughly $5,000 and run to $12,000 for larger commercial configurations. For a homeowner with a large property who is tired of replacing a mower every 4 years, the 10-year cost of a commercial unit with one set of hydraulic service intervals is lower than cycling through 2 or 3 consumer machines with transmission replacements. The math only looks wrong at the purchase point. Over a decade, it flips. If the commercial budget is not there, the next best option is a pre-2010 gear drive or heavy hydrostatic unit bought used. The pre-2005 Craftsman models with the 5-speed gear transmission, older John Deere residential units equipped with the Peerless gear drive, and the pre-2005 Cub Cadet units with the hydrostatic Sunstrand or Eaton transmission are all rebuildable machines. They show up regularly at estate sales, equipment auctions, and online classifieds. A machine with 300 hours and a verifiable service history is worth $500 to $800 in working condition. That is half the cost of a sealed unit replacement on a new box store machine. When you buy one, take it to a slope first, drive it up, drive it down, pull a full load. Any hesitation or whine disqualifies it. Look at the axle seals before you buy. Look at the transmission housing for any staining or seeping. These are open, serviceable units. A competent small engine technician can rebuild the gear drive or replace the Eaton hydraulic pump for $300 to $500 in parts and labor. You cannot do that with a K46. When you are inspecting any used machine, bring a flashlight and check 3 things before you touch the throttle. First, pull the transmission dipstick if the unit has one. The fluid should be amber or light brown. Black fluid with a burnt smell means the unit has been overheated. Metallic particles in the fluid mean the internals are already scoring. Walk away. Second, check all 4 axle seals for leaks. Any fluid staining on the housing surface near the axle exit points is a disqualifier on a sealed unit and a repair item worth negotiating on a serviceable one. Third, put the machine in neutral on a flat surface, engage the bypass valve, and push it by hand. It should roll with minimal resistance. If it still binds or drags with the bypass fully open, that indicates internal damage. Get a detailed inspection before you put any money down. If you currently own a consumer-grade machine with a sealed transmission and it is still running well, here is the complete maintenance protocol to extend its life as far as the design allows. Change the engine oil every 50 hours or once per season, whichever comes first. Replace the air filter every season. Keep the underside of the deck clean. Packed grass against the deck creates heat and adds load. Check the drive belt condition every season. A cracked or glazed drive belt slips under load, creating the same hesitation symptom as early transmission failure and leading people to misdiagnose a belt problem as a transmission problem. A new drive belt for a consumer riding mower runs $25 to $50 and takes 30 minutes to replace. Inspect the belt first before assuming the transmission is failing. Add the external hydraulic cooler at season 1 or 2, not after symptoms appear. Grease the front axle pivot every season with a multi-purpose grease. and store the machine indoors or under a quality cover. Moisture and temperature cycling accelerate seal degradation from the outside in. These steps will not overcome the fundamental design limitation of the sealed unit, but they can push the failure point from 3 years to 6 or 7, which is a real difference in return on a $2,200 purchase. The core of what you are dealing with here is a sealed system designed around a replacement cycle rather than a service cycle. The manufacturers know the failure points. The transmission suppliers publish the service intervals in their commercial documentation. Intervals that are never communicated to the consumer because the consumer grade version is not meant to be serviced. It is meant to be replaced. The repair versus replace calculation is engineered to favor replacement. None of this is accidental, but now you know how to service that fluid, what fluid actually goes back in, what the warning signs look like, and what to buy when the sealed unit is not worth putting more money into. Every specification, torque value, fluid cross-reference, and inspection checklist we covered today is compiled in the complete field reference linked in the description. Use it before your next purchase, and use it before you write a check for a transmission that was designed to be the second one, not the last one. You are the one turning the wrenches on this machine. You are the one who will be under it with a flashlight when something goes wrong. The manufacturer is not in your garage. Make the decision that keeps money in your pocket and metal on your property, not on their replacement cycle. If your mower is already showing signs, drop the model number and the symptom in the comments. Let us figure out if you have a drain plug or if you are making the upgrade decision.